What specific information have you got that proves Sadiq Khan is a corrupt politician?
The Mayor's office gets £18.1 billion a year. Where does that money go? Why, as a Prime Minister, will you let immigrants come off a boat who have no real papers, no real purpose of being here, all men, and then they go put into five-star hotels? You could stop these boats like in one day. Throw a few bullets out there, I'm sorry, warn them or hurt them. It doesn't matter. These people may turn on us tomorrow. How do we know? Everything is broken, from the NHS to the army. But Starmer can find £300 million and give it to Ukraine tomorrow. We must do this. We must have Sharia law. This is our country. These are our rules. Kelly is a friend of mine.
Kelly Maloney?
Yeah.
Do we still know if Kelly Maloney's got his cock intact? You believe aliens walk amongst us?
I do. I've seen a couple of aliens. I've even met a time traveller.
I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health.
Shyam.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I've seen you blown up on the internet. Lots to talk about today. Politics, government... Politics, government secrets, aliens even, but we'll get to the aliens in due course. You ran for Mayor of London.
Mm-hmm.
From what I can gather, you was corruptly muscled out by Khan, so we'll touch base on that. And you're running for PM independently. This is great stuff. Let's go right back to the beginning. Give me a feel for your background before we get into the nuts and bolts of it.
I started my journeys very early in my life. I was working for an investment house originally. That did quite well. And then from there, I got seconded by somebody to go and sell life insurance. And I left the investment house thinking, because in 3-4 months after me being in that position, I went and bought a house and a car. And I thought that was great for 3 months. You know, you can just go and do that. When, you know, in those days, it was much easier, as you know. But then this lady called me and said, you really got to come and see this. And I thought, I'll have a go. I'll have a look. You never close your eyes, okay? So I did. And I joined the life insurance industry. And I was there for like 15 years. I became top of the industry. I don't know if you remember Abbey Life. Mm-hmm. A long time ago, I was the top guy in Abbey Life. And from there, I did about £100 million worth of business. During that time, I also went into the boxing game. I became the first Indian boxing promoter. I was working with people like Frank Maloney, who's Kelly. But I was in and around the industry, and then I ended up starting my own. And I worked with a guy called Peter Maniatis in Australia. He's in the Hall of Fame. We did about 25, 27 shows. I think the last show we were at was 2019 with Michael Zafara. And he won the world title against Jeff Horn. So I love my boxing. I've always enjoyed it. I've loved it. And I'm going to bring another fighter back very soon into the market again.
Who's that going?
Gary Cochran.
Right, okay.
He's a great guy. Fantastic fighter. Muscled up. He's fit as anything. And he's ready to get into the world stage. We'll give him a couple of short fights, you know. And then he can move into the bigger stage. And from there, I then went into hotels. I found somebody couldn't buy, because I've been in finance all my life, property finance. I have a show on a Monday on property, and on a Wednesday I have a show, radio show on our political stuff. So from there, the industry taught me quite a lot. I began to do lots of deals with the boxing side, and then after that, I found a way of getting into the hotels. I bought 4. In 2006, I bought first one. In late 2007, I bought 3 more, or 4 more, actually. And then we had 103 apartments. But the banks, as dirty as they are, dropped me, and I lost them. Receiver came in, took my properties for nothing, sold them for 16 million when they were worth 40. This is the corruption that you face today in our world. Which brings me on to 2023, I was away living with my ex-girlfriend. I won't tell you where, but I was away. I basically had to finish the scenario there and come back to London. I don't know what happened to me, but I went back into my financial side, doing mortgages and stuff for clients, because I do all the non-regulated. Non-regulated means that you do everything but the house. So commercial, semi-commercial, everything. And then in September, I had this calling. I don't know what happened to me, but I think God said to me, you've got to help people. And I'm thinking, how do I help people? So I decided to run for Mayor of London. Now, I did try to do it at the time of Johnson or when Khan was coming in, I can't remember, but I backed out. I actually had backing from George Bush's crew. They were going to help me from the US, and I just backed out. But this one, I said, no, we're going to do it. By September, we formed our team. By October, we were already working out our strategy to do what we're going to do. And then I started to run.
What is the process if you wanted to run for mayor?
You just contact City Hall and say that I'm going to run for mayor. And then you start going to the PR firms and trying to get your name across out into the public arena, podcasts. As I said, I was very naive with the camera stuff. And I had a guy called 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐸𝐻𝐵𝐿𝐿 He's a fantastic guy. And he taught me how to speak on radio, on TV. And I started to learn from him. And we spent a bit of time together asking me awkward questions. I didn't know the answers. And then I did research on the Mayor of London. I decided to find each and every corner. I went into the dark web even. I want to find out, because all of the information he puts out there disappears. It just goes. You don't. If it's bad information, it's gone. How is that possible?
Do you think that's media outlets like the BBC archiving things that are maybe misinformation?
I think there's a lot of things he has done under the belt that people mustn't see. And if you Google him, you don't really see anything bad about him anymore, anywhere. And I reckon he's got good people behind the scenes, social media maybe, doing what he's doing. He's not an avid man that goes on to Instagram. But I digged into deep because I wanted to see, why is London always bankrupt? Under his control from 2016, our city has always been in a bankrupted position. Now, City Hall the Mayor's office gets £18.1 billion a year. Where does that money go? When you look, Starmer says there's a 22 billion back hole when he inherited from the Conservative Party. Khan himself racked up 15.4 billion in April 2024. The money seems to just disappear. Now, he's got his plan in place because City Hall, owns pretty much the GLA. GLA is Greater London Authority. Greater London Authority has 51% share of Transport for London. Now, the CEO, his CEO, a lady, I can't remember her name, she's on about £295,000 a year. She's also then some kind of person in TfL with another £195,000 a year. So I then realised that the system is fully corrupt. I was kind of opened, closed eye, thinking, okay, everything's going to be all right. I'll just say what I have to say, speak to people. And I managed to build a good network of people up. I went everywhere. But going back to your question of how do you get in, you are not an official candidate till the 19th of March.
And what relevance?
7 days before the election.
Okay.
If you're an independent, you've got 7 days to go and get 331 names from all the boroughs, 10 names from every borough. And then you have to also go and get the information from all of them, the electoral registered numbers. Now, they blocked me on the electoral registered numbers. I couldn't get them. I went to, instead of going to 331 people, I went to 7,000 people around the boroughs. And everybody said, get him out, get him out. Even the Asians, the Muslims, everyone was saying, get him out. I used to go and stand outside the mosques and take the names of all the people. Would you like me to be your mayor? What would you like me to do? This is what I can do for you. Get him out. We don't want him. Even though he's in our world, we don't want him. I mean, it's corruption all the way to the core.
Let me ask you, what specific information have you got that proves Sadiq Khan is a corrupt politician?
I would say to you this, and I've said it before, that how did he get the votes? He went to the unions, paid them £30 million. in April 2024. Why would you pay the unions £30 million to stop striking? £30 million? And I believe part of that money was to buy the votes. How else would he have got the votes? Nobody likes him. Nobody liked him. There's no chance he would have got 1 million votes.
And who are the majority of people that are actually voting for him?
We don't know. How do we know? I mean, if he went to the unions to get them, it could be a whole host of variety of people in there.
Was there any suspicion raised when you was approaching the mosques and you were getting rejected?
No, the mosque, they all loved me, the guys. All the Muslim people like, okay, I'm Hindu, I'm Indian, there's a difference. But when you've got people like Bangladeshi people, etc., they're nice people. I used to stand in the pouring rain. I even went to his area and I got about 1,000 names that day there. Now, I only needed 331, 10 from every borough. That's the plan. That was the goal. But the problem is, the reason they took me out of the race, I think, were two reasons. One, I launched C40, 15-minute cities. Two, I went in deeper than I should have. When I rang the councils, on the 13th of March, we had our meeting, and I rang the councils and said, I'm running for Mayor of London. No, you're not a candidate. I said, what do you mean? No, you're only a candidate after the 19th of March. I said, so what is the procedure? What do I do? You have to fill in a form and then we'll decide. I said, okay. So I filled in this form and that say it was Haringey Council. I said, but is this form going to go to? No, you've got to go to all 33 boroughs. I said, what? In 7 days? So we spent like 2-3 days just getting the stuff. Oh, then you need the password. What do I need the password for? For all the data. So apparently we get about 6 million contacts from there. But when I went to get the data and I got the data, that took a couple of days. Now, we had to speak to 33 different boroughs every time, and I had to speak to them. So it took a lot of my time. I wanted to be outside canvassing. But when I got the data, it was all jumbled up. The registers were kind of hidden as well. I rang the GLA. They don't even want to know. And when I got to City Hall, the rules are 10 names from every borough, 330 numbers. When I went to the doorsteps of the people, oh, we haven't received our cards yet. Do you know your old number? Oh, no, we don't. We can't find the old number. But what I didn't realise is that all these other croonies that were running for Mayor of London, they used to put them in the audience. Me, they took me out of the race. But they used to and then they gave them the electoral numbers, and they're all independents. You see, when you're running for Mayor of London and you're with a party, you can have the data from 1 year back. You can go back 1 year, they'll just give it to you. And this is the corruption. So why is it different for independents? Because they want to make it harder for a good guy to come in who's got special ideas, special plans to help the public.
Yeah. But speaking of running for mayor or prime minister independently,
yes,
I want to come to that. But before we move on to that, you spoke about the 15-minute cities.
Yes.
There's a very sinister side to that I don't think many people are aware of, but I know that you are. So can you talk to me about the sinister side of these 15-minute city plans that are very much in place, or at least they're in the pipeline, aren't they?
They are indeed. Was it Ken Livingstone in 2015 was going to start the 15-minute cities programme? That, by the time 2019 came and COVID came, I went back up to 2019. I believe that Khan signed up with the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, as people may not know. But when he signed up, he became the chair of the 15-minute cities programme. Now, it was called C40.org. I urge all of our people who are going to be listening to look up C40.org. Okay, that's the official website of the 15-minute cities. But it's like you sitting in Paris, having a nice croissant and looking out into the beautiful sun shining down on you, but you're in this 15-minute city. You can't get out of it. You can only, what is happening right now outside in our roads in London and these boroughs, they are closing down the lanes, closing down the roads, putting up all this roadworks. No one's there. So what they're trying to do is to create a 15-minute city. So if you're in, say, Hackney, you can only be in that 15-minute city. You can't get out of it. You have to stay in that city. And then if you want to buy food, Well, you'll get a calorie-controlled diet. They'll send you what you can eat today, you and your family. If you want to travel, you can only travel once in 3 years. And if you want to have a petrol car, you can't drive it. You've got to have electric. This is all control because the electric cars are designed, and I don't know if people actually know, but a lot of these electric cars can make you sterilized because of the battery consumption and the charging of it. It will sterilize you. It's almost classed as what you call a bioweapon. People don't know this. And this is a form of control to keep you in that city. You violate anything, they'll freeze your bank account. You're allowed to buy clothes once in 3 years. It's laughable.
What's the purpose of all this?
Control.
Control.
What they want to do, I think, eventually, is that people that own their homes, etc., they'll just submit to the program and say, okay, we'll work for you. Because how are you going to be able... So if your auntie is living in Vauxhall and you're in Hackney and it's like 30-minute drive, you're not allowed to go. You can't see your auntie. This is... When COVID came out, it was the perfect time to them to create it. So it was all on paper. Then what he's done, he's gone round to 80 mayors around the world and convinced them to join the 15-minute program. Now, mayors, like the mayor of London, has full autonomy above his head. He can do anything he likes. Starmer can't tell him what to do. He can't fire him. He has to die or resign.
Why is that?
Autonomy. I think this has been held. I mean, when you looked at Trump a few weeks ago about the lady who was the mayor there, he can't tell her what to do.
So Sadiq Khan is actually far more powerful than we realise.
Yeah, his position is powerful.
You mentioned bioweapons, and I don't want to skip past that. Are there any other bioweapons that you're aware of that we need to be aware of?
Some of the traffic lights where they've been dropping the cameras, there's a couple of guys who have found out what's in the cameras.
Are these the ULEZ cameras?
Yeah. And in these cameras, they are these what they call bioweapons. They're light-emitting diodes that constantly flash. And as you go past the traffic lights, it can actually cause cancer and it can actually cause blindness. People don't know this over a period of time.
And you believe this is purposeful?
Of course.
Okay.
Why do we have foot soldiers in the hotels?
I want to talk to you about foot soldiers because I've heard you mention that.
Yes.
And what makes you think that the hotels are full of foot soldiers? I mean, foot soldiers as in we need to be preparing for war or at least defend our turf.
Well, there's a couple of good questions there. Defending our turf, do we know that these people may turn on us tomorrow? How do we know? They've been hidden away, they come here. If they're coming off these boats, for example, and Starmer's not doing anything about it, ask yourself why. Why as a Prime Minister will you let immigrants come off a boat who have no real papers, no real purpose of being here, all men, and then they go put into 5-star hotels? What is that about? If there's a war tomorrow, apparently we don't have a big enough army here either. And who is going to defend us in our country? Why is it that people need to go out and riot because they're frustrated with what's happening? It's not about colour. It's about the systems in our country. From the mayor's office to the Prime Minister's office, everything is broken. From the NHS to the army. But Starmer can find £300 million and give it to Ukraine tomorrow while our people, the elderly, can't get gas or oil or water. And that's an essential part. Why are we not first? We should be first in our country. And this is what I'm fighting for, to get the message out to people in a nice way, to say that without inciting anything, I'm only talking normal like any normal person would, but I'm not going OTT because there's no point. We are now restricted by social media in saying what we're allowed to say, as you know.
So with our hotels being flooded with illegal migrants with no paper checks, in fact, no background history whatsoever, all fighting fit men, we now know that to be true. What do you think the bigger picture is? Like, why is this going on? What's the conclusion you've come to?
Well, I think the fact that the social media platforms today are being restricted and that they put in, 4,000 people in prison and taken out pedophiles and all these other horrible people that should have been in for crimes, and they put hate words in to prison. Apparently, you can't think if you're standing outside somewhere thinking, a policeman comes to you and says, what are you thinking about? Oh, well, I was just thinking about something that happened, you know. Well, you're not allowed to. I mean, there was this case, wasn't there, recently? I don't know if you saw. A guy goes to the abortion clinic and stands outside and says a prayer to God. And this police officers, somebody must have reported him that he's, you know, doing something. The police officers turned up and said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm just grieving for my unborn child, you know, in my mind. He said, well, you're not allowed to do that. Why are you doing that? And they arrested him. What is that?
Well, this would bring me on to a two-tier policing question, because I'll be very surprised if I ever saw a policeman arrest a Muslim for praying in public. We see it time and time again, en masse as well. So let's bring it back to your maybe your manifesto. You're running for Prime Minister.
Right.
How would you structure the police force, bearing in mind we have got a two-tier policing system in place? Or am I wrong?
When I was running for Mayor of London, I'll just show you how corrupt the system is.
Please.
I went to the hospitals and I said, I want to know about knife crime. And they wouldn't tell me. They said, you're a mayoral candidate. We're not allowed to speak to you. I said, why? He said, no, we're not allowed to speak to you. We've been told by City Hall that any mayoral candidate comes in, don't talk to them. And eventually, I also used to go to the police. The police said, we can't talk to you. I said, but why not? If I become mayor, I will become the head of the police as well. And I would like to know what is happening in the police force. So they would be tight-lipped. But one girl, I used to take them flowers and chocolates. And the last day, I said, please tell me what's happening about knife crime. And she said, you don't want to know. You don't have a clue what is really going on. I said, well, enlighten me, tell me. She said, like in one hospital, I won't name it for obvious reasons, but close to Big Ben, one hospital said there's over 400 cases a night. That's one hospital out of 33 boroughs. And we get told one here, one there, one this, one that. This is wrong. Now, the police, you asked me a question, what I would do. I would put stringent controls into place. I would make sure that whoever is in charge of the police puts them in command. They do what we tell them to do, and that is to have law and order on our streets, right? We don't need to have people coming out, taking people's phones, knifing them, just like that. The police force right now need more powers, I think, because these knife crimes that are happening are far greater than what you and I know. They're not one here, one there. There are loads. And they're being hidden from us to try and keep the peace, to not scare people.
Well, I think people like you and me, we do know because we get fed information and we walk around with our eyes open. But you are quite right. A lot of people have got no idea just the sheer volume of massacres, multiple stabbings, murders. They get swept under the carpet. We now know not to believe the mainstream media, or whatever they report, we know to 10x it, like you're quite rightly saying. What about gun crime? Have you got an insight into that? Because that's worse than we're told.
Yeah, there is gun crime. It's well hidden, very well hidden. It's mainly in South London, North London, outside in Birmingham and other places. I actually went to investigate about gun crime, and I met an inspector. I won't tell you who, but he was not spilling the beans, but he was quite fed up and frustrated, saying that we're like handcuffed sometimes. We can't do what we have to do, and we know the perpetrators. And this is a problem. I mean, it's almost like having corruption in the police, but it's not their fault. They're getting a bad name, but they're told what to do. I mean, things like this, riots that happened, they slammed everything. They could have given warnings to these people and said, don't do it again. I mean, one guy, I was on GB News answering some questions there, and one guy said, get out of your country, get out of my country, this is England. And I'm born here. How dare you say that to me? Like, from GB News. So I wrote to GB News. I said, do you admire what people say to me about this? That I've been in this business for quite a long time. And one person says that, what are you going to do about it? They didn't even reply to me. And I wanted to report them to Ofcom. And I think it's wrong. If they're handling a media outlet, they should be scrutinising who's writing what. Someone can't just say, this is England, get out of my country.
So what's your view on free speech then?
I think free speech should be open. Has to be. Okay, open with limits, all right? But we all know that. we know where our place is. We don't need to swear on platforms like this. We don't need to say bad things. We don't need to tell lies. All of the information I give you is factual. It's all on the web. And if I'm good enough to go on the web to highlight it and tell the public, I want to do that. But I'm not breaking any laws at the same time. But I think free speech should have a limit, i.e. you don't have to swear. You can be nice. You can still have arguments with people on text messaging. It doesn't go anywhere, but at least it's getting the message out. But if you're going to say, I'm going to start a riot tomorrow, that's wrong.
But you think that if somebody says to you on a social media platform, go back to your own country, even though you are already in your own country, you think that should be policed by the platform holder?
I think they should warn them and say that again and we'll ban you. But you don't need to go and put them into prison. So
very hard to police comments, isn't it? Unless you're sort of calling for immediate violence, it is tricky to pick up on where do you draw the line? I mean, for example, people watching this podcast here today, and I'll put this on record, you can say what you like about me. I couldn't care less because I'm not a free speech absolutist, because obviously I wouldn't want to call for violence or harm. But, you know, sticks and stones will break my bones. Words like that's a you problem, not a me problem. So we're a bit different on that front.
Yes.
Let's go back to your manifesto. Major bones of contention: illegal migration, grooming gangs, not calling out the elephant in the room for what it is. Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, for example. We know that gangs that rape white British children are predominantly Pakistani Muslim. And just to put the caveat in there, I'm also well aware that the majority of independent pedophiles are white middle-aged men that look a lot like me. So I'm not excusing anybody, but I believe that we should call out the problem for what the problem is. Otherwise, you're never going to get it resolved. And then we end up with decades of children getting raped because people are too scared to talk about it. So how would you deal with the current grooming gang crisis?
Right. First of all, I'm International Human Rights Chairman of 54 countries in Africa, first of all. And I've set up transparency, not secrecy. I'll tell you my goals when we get down that road. But one of the sites that we've set up is transparency, not secrecy, to hold the government to account of everything, because they're not being transparent with us.
I was going to say transparency over secrecy. That's going to be a first.
Yeah, that's right.
I look forward to that.
But going to your question with grooming gangs, etc., there has to be harsh and fast rules put in. Okay, first of all, I love kids, and I did a paper for the UN, which obviously I don't like very much, because they're just a body of nothing. To be honest with you, they don't really push. They're called the United Nations, and they never are united. So I put a paper in that if any war starts, for example, women and children must go first out. They can't just sit there in the war when their men are gone to war and they're going to get raped and other things, which always happens. And no one heeds or hides about that. They just continue. But when you've got people like gangs, now the grooming gangs came up again a couple of years ago, if I remember. This is an old story and an old subject. People like 𝐼𝐺 home in on these things and immigration. Now, with the grooming gangs, I would put harsh and fast rules in. And our police know who they are. Why are they not going to collect them? They know who they are. When you say two-tier policing, I don't think it's a two-tier policing situation. I think what it is that they know what is going on. And this is not old news. Like 𝐼𝐺 highlights it because he's got nothing better to say about that Begum woman, comes out of the blue from nowhere. The deal's been done, not allowed. These things have got to be stopped. We can't have trafficking in our country, and there is a huge amount of trafficking of kids and women disappearing from nowhere. From social services even. This grooming gangs thing stems into the government. It is not just about them. It's not about the Pakistani men or the Asian men. It could be the Polish men, the Romanians and others, and we can go on and on and on. But the police know who they are and why they're not arresting them. That's an answer that I don't have for you. But migrants, there are migrants and illegal migrants. Now, the people that are constantly coming from the boats, they know that Starmer's not going to do nothing about it because he's all about votes. He wants votes. He wants voting power. These people come in undocumented. They may or not have a passport, but they come in. And what I don't seem to understand is if they're coming from France, why haven't we got a couple of army ships out there, throw a few bullets out there, I'm sorry, warn them or hurt them, it doesn't matter, because this isn't stopping. They have got no hard and fast rules. There is no army there. We've got a route of army here. We've got police. Okay, police may not be able to do what they are, but you could have a trained system and you could stop these boats like in one day because they don't want to. It's not that you can't stop it. You need to get, if they come onto our shore, you put them back and you send them back home. And if I was Prime Minister, I would have gone to Macron and said to him quite easily, do this again and we'll have a war because this is enough. You're sending people. We are the last resort. They all come from here, there, from Italy, Germany, France, whatever, to England. And England takes them. Why are they not keeping them? I mean, this is wrong. So I would put hard and fast rules in. I'm not a no-nonsense person. I will do what I say. And I've always done that.
So you mentioned either stop them or harm them, whatever it takes to prevent them.
I don't want to harm them. We can throw rubber bullets, whatever. We can flatten their dinghies. At the end of the day, they are perpetrating. Why don't they get on a plane and come to Heathrow Airport and say, we're seeking political asylum. We're really worried. If we go back, we're going to get killed, murdered. But these seem to be all men. Where are the women and kids? They've all got mobile phones as well. Well, what does that tell you? We're building an army that we don't even know is going to turn on us tomorrow. What is this army here for? Or these men that are all in these hotels? What about our tourism? People want to come to England. They don't want to have single men in all the hotels doing what? And they've got ammunition in their rooms. They've got grenades. They've got guns. They've got everything. They are not just untrained people. They've already been trained. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, one of the channels I was reading said that they're doing drills in England. And then they congregate outside the hotels. Women might go by. Something may happen. Women are scared to go out in the evenings. Where is our protection for our women who get off a bus and go home? You know, this is all what I'm against. I would put harsh rules in. I would even like to bring capital punishment back at some point because we have to get order here. What is law and order?
List me the crimes that would be punishable by death.
Any murders, any knife crimes that have happened. Severe problems, of course. I mean, you wouldn't kill somebody for taking a wallet out of someone's pocket. But the prisons are full up. They're dirty. A lot of the prisons have now got like computers in their walls. You know, they've got all the refinements and they're criminals. They've killed people. What is that about? But in terms of doing something about this, you've got to be hard and fast. Capital punishment. A lot of countries, I mean, Trump is thinking of bringing it back in a big way now.
Reinstating it for sex offenders.
Yeah, well, I think anything bad that happens to a woman and she happens to survive, the trauma is going to kill her eventually, right? And it's already killed the family. And so the perpetrators that are planning to rob someone's house or to rob them and all that should have harsh treatment. And these are warning signs. It says there that your capital punishment is here now. You want to go ahead and do the crime, you won't be doing the time. And that's the thing. So you need to have strong people. We don't have a strong government here. We've never had a strong government here.
What do you think the biggest threat to the UK is?
Well, I think the biggest lie that was done for us, and it is a lie and people are still disgruntled, is taking us out of the European Union. I wanted to be taken out of the European Union, to be honest. I'm a Brexiteer. But because I don't see why we should be paying 55 million a day to a union that does nothing with this money, then tells us to give us all the money and we have to beg for our money to pay the council, pay this, pay that. That's not right at the end of the day. But what Farage did and Johnson, they built a house. Fantastic. We're all going to get you out of Brexit. But what happened after that? There was no foundation. There was nothing behind it. Now, if they'd gone and done a deal with the fisheries, the exits and entries, the portals of us moving around, right? We would have had something. We would have had, okay, we say bye-bye, got a divorce, and now we've still got access. We still can trade and do business. but there was nothing. They closed the door. They never even negotiated one word. And this was a future prime minister. What a joke. And how can you trust people like this? Trust. My 4 goals are transparency, not secrecy, prosperity, not poverty, homeowners, not homeless, and champions, not criminals. What do we have? The reverse.
I'll tell you another thing you said that I really admired. You were talking about MPs being members of parliament, and you said they should be members of people.
Yeah, members of the public or members of people. If I get to set up my party, which I'm about to do, I want to recruit 600 people from the country. I don't want MPs anymore, because when they join this world of members of parliament, they become a member of
their club.
Yeah, Mr. King Charles. Yeah, open and shut the door. We are now in this secular, quiet community of MPs. So what happens to their constituents? Do you think they can see 20,000 people? If I had constituents of 20,000 people, believe you me, I would have to have had 10, 15 people like me seeing them every day, because everyone's got a problem. That's why they said, I'll vote for you, but will you do this? Now, the voting system, if I can go on to it for a second, when you're in this club, members of parliament, you have now segregated yourself. The government is a you and them now.
You're saying MPs have segregated themselves from the people?
Yes,
yeah.
Because our people don't have a representation. Where do they have a voice? Where do you have a voice? If you want something done, you would be able to call in and say, I and my friends want to see this happen. And we would look at it, because you said that you'll put me into power, and I say that I'll do it for you, or we'll look at it. But if I get into power, I'm you. I am not a government. I don't want to be a government. I am not a politician. They need a degree, politics.
Politrickster.
I don't want to be a politician, because they lie. It is history after history with the COVID and everything else. They've all lied to us. And what do we gain? Nothing. Nothing. They're prospering themselves, giving themselves. Who says that they're allowed to give themselves a pay rise? Shouldn't we be the ones deciding whether they should have a pay rise?
Certainly whether they're worthy of one.
Yes. And if I was Prime Minister, I would most probably shut down the House of Lords, and Parliament would be a one-way street. It would be just us in there doing the things for the public.
What about Buckingham Palace? What would you do with that if you was Prime Minister?
Probably turn it into a tourist attraction, full on. Maybe hotel, I don't know. But it needs to be working, because the establishments are not helping. I mean, we saw dispatches. Did you see dispatches on King Charles?
No, and I'm interested in your view of King Charles as well.
Well, look.
Compared to the previous Queen.
I don't know either of them. I've never met them in my life.
From what you've seen?
From what I've seen, I mean, he seems a nice bloke, but he is part of the WEF, which puts a line there with Jimmy Savile and everybody else that was in that world. Point 2 is that if he's such a beautiful king, a great king of our country, why does he have to charge the NHS £11 million a month or whatever it is for each site that he owns for parking their ambulances there? What is that for? He's a king of our country. What did the olden kings do? What were movies we've seen? They used to lead in the front. When there was a war, they were standing in front, not behind. And they're taking our money. Fine, you can represent us in the world. No problem.
So King Charles is a backseat driver.
I would say yes. More than likely, he's not even driving the car. He's sitting at the back, and they're just paying him willy-nilly. Look, when you're in government, one thing I would really do, you might like it, is that I will not charge anyone taxes. It's enough.
Oh, I like that.
People need to earn money. They need to have economic freedom. I would help them in any way I could to own their house. They don't need a mortgage. Mortgages it's another story for another day. But they don't need to be suffering with their kids, getting them into schools, etc. I mean, the private sector now, the private schools, for example, we're the only country in the world that are charging VAT on this. And I don't believe any government in any part of the world should be running children and should be handling schools. They should be independent of us. There should be an independent body running the schools, like the parents, etc. And then you'll see kids excelling, and they'll all compete to get into university, like in America. You know, they run an independent system there. At the end of the day, the government gives them the money, and they go run it. In being part of human rights in Africa, in Nigeria, they spend £3.8 billion. The government. And there's like 100 kids in the class. How are they going to learn from one person? This is not right. You see, our money is squandered. You must remember, inflation is a word. Everyone prints money. Starmer says 22 billion black hole. He doesn't need to say it because he can go in and ask the Bank of England, give me 100 million, give me 100 billion. What is this? We are like, they think we're stupid. We've got like a shroud on our face that we don't know anything. You know, you and I can do our podcasts and reel out, but I'm pleased that my podcasts have been going up and up. People are waking up and they're thinking, God, why didn't I wake up earlier? What are these people doing? Starmer has gone round the world for what? What does he come back with? He's gone to show his face. Half of them don't even want him there.
He comes back with a shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah, and air miles, plenty of air miles.
How do you deal with radical Islam? Let's talk about the terror watch list, for example. We know there's nearly 40,000 of them are radical Islamists. How would you deal with that problem?
I mean, look, there are a lot of religions in our country. Again, it's not fair for me to attack them, but I say this, that whatever religion you're in, keep it in your home, I think. You don't need to go and try and convert somebody or start saying, well, this is all out of control. You see, the books like the Gita, the Quran, our Bible, they're all the same. If you start reading them, I mean, I haven't read all of them, but if you start reading them, the pictures are the same. But the people are going out of their head to try and, I don't know, incite riot or what. But they're mincing their words in a nice way to say that, you know, we must do this, we must have Sharia law. This is our country. What happens in our country, we have to abide by. These are our rules. And I mean, I will condone anybody that starts infiltrating their religion upon people that don't want it to be done. It's important to have our customs uprated, keeping proud of what we are. And if people come here and they become part of our society and they want to speak about these things, they need to do it in their own homes, I think. I don't think it's fair, you know, because if you go to a church, you need to know that you're comforted by God. I say this to people, if you believe in God, then God will believe in you. It's very simple.
It's more the people that are going to be an immediate threat. Those on the watch list that there's intel that says they want to kill and destroy. And we know that to be true. So what would you do with those people as Prime Minister?
Well, as I said, I will put harsh laws in. I said, keep your business at home.
Same rules apply.
To everyone, not just one, because there's loads. There's loads of different things that happen, right? But I mean, if the Muslims want to do this, I've got nothing against anybody. I want to make that clear to you. Anybody that's in our country, they're born here, they're English, and they should live to their traditions. For example, if we go to Saudi, we have to cover ourselves up, and the women do. We have to abide by their custom, right? I mean, when you go to the boxing shows there, all of the people that have come from London, etc., and the women are respecting the custom because that's their law. What about our law here?
Are there many Hindus on the terror watch list?
Broadly. No, there isn't. I've not seen any, actually. Because, the temples that we've created here are every penny. I helped build a temple in _𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐿. I don't know if you've seen the 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐿 temple, the big white one, all made out of marble.
Oh, yes.
Long time ago. So I'm a patron there. And we're very peaceful people. We don't push ourselves to religion. People just want to look after their families and grow. That is their main customs. We have the caste system in India, which is like you've got 5 different caste systems. You've got the Brahmins, which are the priests. Then you've got the warriors. Then you've got the middle of the road. Then you've got the lower of the road. And then you've got the untouchables, what they call. So people that are doing the really, cleaning and stuff there. But It's a peaceful religion. I mean, I am not religious, I have to tell you. I believe in God.
Me neither.
I believe in God and the angels, I must say to you. And I like to say hello to them now and again.
I don't believe in either of them.
You should try. It's not bad.
But I totally respect people that do. And I think faith is very good for a lot of people because a lot of people are lost at the moment. As you well know, you're seeing it on the daily now. Tommy Robinson.
Yes.
What are your views on him?
Well, again, I haven't met the man. I wouldn't mind meeting him, actually. So I would like to go and see him in prison and see if I could chat to him. It's not about doing a podcast as such, but it's about seeing who he is because I've read so many things about him. He's come from the National Front, EDF and all this other stuff. And we keep hearing stories about who is promoting him, whether it's the Jewish people or somebody else. I don't know. But I think he's got to... I think when he went into prison, it was for the wrong reason. And I don't think he should have gone into prison for that reason, actually. And then to be put into a solitary confinement, worst prison of the United Kingdom, almost like Julian Assange, for maybe a crime he hasn't been proven that he committed. So I don't really know the guy, but I read a lot about him. But he comes across sometimes as quite aggressive, I think. But maybe he's just doing it from his passion, from his heart. So, I mean, I don't really know the man.
What's your views on his intentions?
I think he's got good intentions at heart. I think he doesn't like the fact that ethnic minorities are here and taking advantage, who are probably not fully documented in this country. And I agree with him. And I think that those sort of people should either go home or prove that they're worth here. I mean, like when our Indians came from India to England, they did all the dirty jobs, everything. And they worked like dogs, 18, 20 hours a day for our country. Now, our English people didn't do them, so they came. But they communitized and they got themselves into a nice system and continued that system and respected that system. But then other people may want to do the reverse and try and do crime and all this other stuff. And it can't be just our English people, but obviously all different creeds are doing these sort of things. So we can't just segment one, like you said about the grooming gangs, the Pakistanis or whatever. Where is the proof? And if we've got that proof, why are the police not doing anything about it? They should be in there first. They know everything. MI5, MI6 know everything that's going on in our country. And they're either being told to hush up and get on with your stuff. And that's why when you said like a two-tier, I understand you. And I kind of agree with those riots that came out. This was a angry calling from a long time ago. This wasn't just then when Starmer came in. This was the build-up, the frustration.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think the pressure cooker's been building up and up for a long, long time.
Long time.
Just before I ask you, final two questions I've got for you, but just to round off on Tommy, because people watching know that
Yes.
I'm a personal friend of his. So just so you know, when he was running the EDL, English Defence League, anyone that was National Front, they weren't actually welcome to any of his demonstrations. So I'll just say that there, because this is about you, not me. But just to clear that one up, because I think you'd be pleasantly surprised if you actually meet him. Because
I would love to meet him.
His intentions are pure.
Yeah.
He doesn't want young British children being exploited and abused. And it's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. And he's not got a racist bone in his body. But let's just come back to another woke ideology before the final question, which we're going to move on to aliens. But how would you... we've got to.
All right, I'm all for it.
What would you do with the DEI training in the workplace?
I think there needs to be a lot more done. I mean, look, you've got kids coming out of school now, young. And these youngsters, 16-year-olds, I mean, they're really spot on. They're really smart. With the social media and everything else around them, they need to be put in... They need to have... The government should have put in... education, they should have put in something to move them up, the ones that don't want to go to university, get them into jobs before they leave school. Everybody keeps saying there's no jobs, there's no this, there's lots of stuff. I mean, if I was Prime Minister, as I said to you, no tax for our public. We charge our businesses, whatever. We have to still make some money. But the money we make is yours. It belongs to you. You tell us what to do. Our manifesto is your manifesto. Because if I want the same things as you, I'm writing it down and this is what we're going to do. I don't want to pay any tax. Why would I want to pay tax? If I don't have to pay tax, then why do you have to pay? So when the kids grow, these are our youth. This is why I set up city, communication or community, infrastructure, transition and youth. Now you couple them with the goals that I said to you, transparency, not secrecy, prosperity, not poverty, homeowners, not homeless, and champions, not criminals. What do you have? You have a country and a family. It's exactly the same. So there should be a lot more done with not just our youth, but our people. There are a lot of people sitting on the dole. They're collecting their checks every week. No one's doing anything about it. They're all able to work, a lot of them. Yes, the disabled ones, we are a very giving country, very giving, but we need to get our priorities in the right place. Starmer doesn't have a clue in where his priorities lie, and he hasn't done that for a long time. The first thing he could have done was said, we're going to not raise council tax. What did Sunak say? He's going to raise the council tax. Why are we paying council tax? Can you tell me? We're paying council tax. It's an unnecessary charge. You go to places like Russia, Europe, you're paying like $12 a month for electricity, gas and water. Now, isn't that going to help you in your home? That you've got you're living in a country that you adore, you love. And because these type of people come in, they want to screw you even more and take your money. Like the ULEZ charge, the congestion charge, the BBC license. Why are we paying unnecessary taxes? I said to the people, please don't smash the cameras, just don't pay. It's simple. The more people don't pay, they will have to stop that system. These are all unnecessary charges. We need to live in economic freedom. I want to be in a country where I know, like almost like Dubai, let's say, I can go out and it's sunshine. I can go and buy a Rolls Royce if I want to, or a Mini if I want to, give my children holidays 3 times a year. Why am I not allowed to do that? Why are we only allowed 4 weeks in a year? This is ridiculous.
Rations. A bit off topic, but it's more your personal opinion on men in women's sports. For example, do you agree with a man tucking his cock between his legs and getting in a ring with a woman and competing at a professional level?
I'm sorry, I don't. I might upset people, but it's my own personal belief. I think Trump is right. It's a man and a woman. He's got it wrong. It's a man, woman and a child. I think when the kids were being educated at school, I do believe that there was a lot of transformations going on in the schools for kids to become a different sex. God only made us one way. What is this? If you don't like what's in the middle, chop it off and be a woman. Why you still got it dangling like most of them have?
Well, the problem is a lot of people are doing that.
Well, okay, if they do that, I mean, look.
They're still men.
I mean, look, I don't like it, but Kelly is a friend of mine, or was, I don't know. It's a long time.
Kelly Maloney?
Yeah.
Do we still know if Kelly Maloney's got his cock intact?
You'll have to ask him. I'll give you his number.
Get him on FaceTime. Say, you're on a podcast. Show us your cock. So, men in women's sports is definitely off the...
Sports, definitely not. It is no chance. Come on. Look, that woman, man, whatever it was, won this title of this lady. It's not right. Men are built differently to women. We all know that. Men are stronger than women a lot of the time. I'm talking about physicality, not talking about just mental. But jokes aside, it's a sore subject, right?
You've almost got to joke about it because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. You don't know what this trans person's going through, but I don't believe that they should be able to go into a trans goes into a woman's cloakroom. That's not right. Women are women. They were born women. They're our mothers. They're our wives. They can't have this guy coming in here and he might have tendencies or whatever. We don't know. It's not right. This has to be sorted out. Starmer and his crew do nothing about this.
Well, they encourage all this madness.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, silence is compliance. If you're not calling it out, saying, no, this is a mental health crisis, then you're part of the problem.
We may not be able to talk about it on this podcast even. I don't know. But, I mean, Trump
fucked.
has physically come out and said, there is a man and there is a woman, nothing in between.
Well, the beauty of this podcast is nothing is off limits, nor is anybody. And I actually get some stick every now and again and some backlash for some of the guests I have on or some of the topics. And
Yes.
I want to put this out there as well. And I make no apologies.
I'm with you.
I couldn't give a fuck. I'm here to get under the bonnet of people's
Yes.
lives that are very, very different to me, shine the light on taboo subjects, and I'm genuinely interested what makes people tick.
Yeah.
So let's move on to aliens.
Ah.
Because this now is going to blow my mind. So you believe aliens walk amongst us?
I do.
I mean, freestyle this however you want, but I mean, how do you know that to be true? What have you seen? What evidence can back this up?
I've seen a couple of aliens. I've kind of befriended them, but keep a distance because I still don't know certain things. I've even met a time traveler. And that we talk about time travel for a second. People believe it or they don't believe it. There are portals in our world. Our minds, you see, when a child is in the woman's stomach, for example, the child is using telepathy to the woman, to the mother, and saying, Mum, can I speak to you? It knows how to speak, but it's using telepathy. Mum says, oh, baby's hungry, needs food, needs chocolate. I'm really hungry, I want chocolate. But that's the start of the first communication, right? Aliens are the same. A lot of aliens use high-level telepathy, and they live for 300, 400, 500 years. Now, our bodies have been locked into dying. So our life expectancy is at 90, 100, say, for example. But any child that's born now in this era will live over 100 all day long. There are aliens here. They've been here for eons.
How do I spot them?
You don't really. There are a lot that look like us. There are, I mean, you know, there is an International Alien Federation upstairs. And they have big motherships. And I can tell you this now, that aliens up above the sky are looking at us and laughing at what we're doing with the wars, with all these problems. Man has just blown himself apart. You know, like I said to you, if you go back to the 60s and 50s and there was no phones, there was communication, divorce levels were very, very low, and families were growing, right? But with the invention of technology, in America, they get one ship a week even, I think, I don't know, maybe more. And they're all different types of sky vehicles, you can call them. They capture them. Area 51 has so many different aliens. The alien species there's about 9,000, something like that. They are vast and they are very smart people.
So when you said that you've met a couple of aliens,
Mm-hmm.
how did you know they were aliens?
Well, I met one in Amsterdam a long time ago through some people I know and they've been guiding them. There are some really high-end aliens here who are helping to guide our systems in the world. And they're trying to keep the balance here. But the balance is like this because man's too busy fighting wars and other things. So, but our country, our world has huge minerals and some of the stuff that's here is not in other planets as well. You know, when you look at the moon, you see the moon, but behind the moon, there are species there. And people don't discover this properly, quickly enough, because somebody says, oh, we've got half a world, a flat world, or we've got a circular world, or somebody's here. But if you go to Antarctica, why are you not allowed to go there? Why is it taken off the map? Simply because underneath our Earth, there are so many different dimensions underneath our own Earth. You know, there are seafaring aliens from under the sea. But there's a lot of aliens that look like us.
Yeah, the alien you met in Amsterdam.
Look like me. Just normal.
Blink the same.
Tall, yeah.
How did he say he was an alien?
Well, he told me he's from Venus.
Did you not think maybe he'd smoked too many spliffs?
Yeah, I did. And being in Amsterdam, of all places.
Well, yeah.
But when I went to his place where he had some offices that they had, they're very, very high end. Their intelligence is super. I mean, this guy I spoke to was over 200 years old. He could even tell me what happened, and he's been here for so long.
Did he look good for his age?
Very good. Very good. Look like me. But, all right, how are the pyramids made? Do you think man made the pyramids? What, with machinery? How are the pyramids made? Precisely like that. And what are they there for? They're a beaming light that goes out into space. There's a lot of things that have happened in our world that man can't understand and do. I mean, we've created, where has all this technology come from? Where has time travel come from? I met a guy, he doesn't speak to me a lot, but when he does, it's very cryptic and one line, and it's only on an email. And he comes and goes here. And the things that he predicted all came true. I mean, what I'm worried about is protecting our people and I'm only concerned about our country now, to be honest with you. I focus here, and my focus is our people. I love our people, and I want to try my best to do what I can for them. The larger the voice I get, if people contact me on my Instagram and follow me and listen to what I'm saying, and maybe then we can get some traction and get somebody decent in to run our country the way it's meant to be run. We should be focusing here about our stuff.
Well, I tell you what, you keep talking about aliens, you'll get plenty of attention. I saw a picture of you with John Travolta.
Yeah.
What's the connection there?
I met him quite a long time ago, 8-10 years ago, at an event.
So just a bit of networking.
We made friends and secretary, all that stuff, But yeah.
Did he discuss his Scientology?
No, but I do remember going to a Scientology visit once, and I never went back again. And I met Tom Cruise there, whatever his name is.
That's him.
John Travolta was there.
What did you discuss with John Travolta? He's one of my favourite actors.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I love him.
He's a nice bloke. Very nice. A lot of stuff, really. I was fortunate because my friend knows him very well, and he did it. He was doing an event at the Palladium, I think it was, where we all went when he lost his son, and he came out afterwards, which was sad. And that, I think, shook him to bits, personally, to anybody losing their child before them, So, but he's a good person, very nice person.
He's one of my favourite actors. A final thing. People that have watched this episode this week, and they could potentially be voters now because you're running for Prime Minister independently, what would your final message to them be?
Come and join me, speak to me. I've got lots to offer, and I like to be honest. As I said to you, my 4 goals are very important to me, and I think people should adopt them. It's so important to have just the 4 basic things in life. But what are we here for? We're here to look after our families, aren't we? Isn't that the world we live in that we're meant to do? And build ourselves a future because the future is going to be for our children, right? The youth. So that's why I created City, because at the end, the Y stands for youth. So I'm very compassionate. I like to be part of the people. So when we say that we're going to have a member of parliament, why can it not be a member of the public? I would rather bring hardworking individuals in who have a passion like me to come and stand and run for their community. And we be all part of that one community. Yeah, I don't want to be, the word Prime Minister, okay, but it's not about me. It's about the public. And all these presidents and prime ministers who stand on a high trough about themselves, it's wrong. They should be standing up for the public. And it's the public that drive the country. They're the car drivers. We're the backseaters. You tell us what we should do. Why should we? So, for example, you want to do a vote on abortion. Why don't we do a vote with you guys and say, look, we're thinking of doing this for abortion. What do you think? Yes or no? Why doesn't the public do it? We need digital voting. I've created digital voting. I want to bring it out so people can actually vote in their square space in front of them that no one can see. And I believe that people should pay £2.50 for their vote because you own that vote. When you get given that vote, it's not yours. Look what's happened. Suddenly, everyone's voted for Labour. They didn't need to vote for Labour, but they get mesmerised by media, by papers, by outlets. Oh, these guys are bad and this is bad and they won't do this. And what happens? People flood like sheep, but they don't need to because our public are very smart. We are one of the most giving nations in the world for charity, but charity begins at home.
It certainly does. You got my attention there. Would you be pro or anti-abortion?
Depends. I think it's left to the woman. I would leave it to the woman. I don't think we should be making rules for women. It's not right, because women carry that child. They have to decide. There could be a complication, and by the last resort, they may have to abort it. Why do we need to get involved with this? This is not right. I mean, it's a big thing in America, but isn't it the woman's space that matters most? Why is anyone not concentrating on that woman? What is it that she wants? Or the husband? What is it that they want? If there's a huge complication and the only result is either that child's going to be disabled, but God's put it into your body, so it's up to you. I would pass it to the woman and say, it's your wish, what you want to do. What is this? Do you agree?
Being raised by women myself, I'm all about, if it's the woman's body, it's the woman's choice.
I agree.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today. If the audience has got this far, please remember to like and subscribe so we can keep bringing on interesting guests like Shyam. And I want to wish you all the luck in the world, and thank you once again for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Liam.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you.